glad you've stayed up late. Now on BBC One for a look to the heavens with Patrick Moore.
The night sky in all its glory. Not outdoors, but here, inside Britain's newest planetarium, the South Downs Planetarium in Chichester. Good evening. This is the South Downs Planetarium in Chichester, opened in April by Sir Martin Rees, the Astronomer Royal, and already proving a great success. Now, a planetarium is not like an observatory. What happens is a very complex projector shows an artificial sky on the inside of a large dome, and it's amazingly realistic. Well, you say, why have an artificial sky when the real one's there? Well, there are any number of reasons. First, the real sky is often hidden by lights or cloud. And secondly, in our sky, we can do things the real sky either doesn't do very often or doesn't do at all. For example, would you like to see a total eclipse of the sun or a brilliant comet? Well, we can do that any time at all. And we can travel forwards and backwards in time. We can show you the sky as it was 5,000 years ago when the pyramids were built. I may say, the planetarium sky is amazingly versatile. There are 3 displays this morning. To a primary school in Bognor, 120 children who come in 3 batches, and they'll see the show and learn about the night sky. And I asked them what they thought about it. What do you expect?
Loads of planets.
This planet and stars?
Yeah, stars.
You hope to learn something from it? You enjoy it too?
Yeah.
What do you expect?
A lot of pictures.
Yes?
Stars.
Yes?
Planets.
Yeah? Have you ever been to a planetarium before?
No.
Well, I wonder what you think of it.
And if you look to the top of the dome, you'll find my red pointer moving around, and I'm going to use this as my hand to point things out to you, and you can see...
Well, as you can see, the presentation is underway, the lights are down, the dome is in darkness, and above us the stars shine down, very much as the stars in the real sky do. We can see them, and so can the audience, because we've got special lighting arrangements. And our resident lecturer is Dr. John Mason.
You can see the phase is increasing as
the whole project took 7 years to set up. We raised £500,000, and the South Downs Planetarium is now in full operation.
Now, you can see there's a pattern like a crucifix. There's the long arm of the crucifix, and there's the crosspiece. And this is a swan flying towards the south. There's the beak, there's the long neck outstretched, there are the feet and tail trailing backwards, and there's one wing, and there the other wing. And if we add the outline of the swan on the top, well, now you can see the shape in all its glory.
My connection with planetaria really goes back to the time when they opened the London Planetarium, and I was invited to become director. I said no very firmly, but later on I did set up the Armagh Planetarium, which sadly is no longer functional. Here in Chichester, we now have our South Downs Planetarium, and I'm going to ask Dr. John Mason to demonstrate our very lovely projector.
Well, Patrick, we were very lucky to get this projector. It's 25 years old, and it really is a beautiful instrument. There's not a single piece of computing technology in it. It's an old-fashioned electromechanical device, and the main parts are the 2 star balls, one here and one at the top there. And between them, those 2 star balls project 4,400 stars onto the domes of all brightnesses and produce a pretty realistic night sky. Inside each ball there's a 500-watt lamp, and around that lamp there are a series of star plates, each with up to 100 holes in, the size of the hole reflecting the brightness of the star on the dome. In the middle here we have the projectors for the moon, the sun, and all the naked eye planets, so it really is a very complex bit of machinery.
Well, John, the sky is darkening. Let's have a look at the sky as it is at midnight tonight.
Well, of course, one of the most famous patterns that we see at this time of year is the summer triangle, a term which I believe you coined many years ago.
In the Sky at Night programme.
Consisting of 3 bright stars, Deneb in Cygnus the Swan, Vega in Lyra the lyre or harp, and Altair in Aquila the eagle. And they make up that very large isosceles triangle there. And we can see, of course, Deneb is in the tail of Cygnus the Swan, and we can see, if we add the swan on, there it is, flying south. Lyra, not so easy to see, of course, the bright star Vega and the little pattern of the lyre. And then Altair, very distinctive because it has that faint star either side of it. Now, of course, in addition to the main stars of the summer triangle, there are quite a number of small but quite distinctive patterns.
Yes.
And I suppose one of the most obvious is Delphinus the dolphin. Although it's rather small, it does sort of look like a dolphin leaping out of water with that diamond shape of stars, the head of the dolphin, and then the curve of the tail round.
Almost like a star cluster.
Yes, and am I right that that diamond of stars is called Job's coffin sometimes?
I don't know why.
I don't know why either. And then, of course, above Altair, we have Sagittarius the arrow. And that, again, is rather distinctive. It does look like an arrow or a dart being fired over in that. And is that supposed to be one of Cupid's arrows?
Yes, it is, in mythology.
So those are quite nice little patterns that we see at this time of year. Here we are on the Mediterranean coast of North Africa, and the 2 patterns that are well displayed are Scorpius the scorpion and Sagittarius the archer. Let's start with Scorpius. The brightest star, Antares, is this reddish supergiant there, again with a faint star either side of it. And there you have the front part of the scorpion. And then the scorpion curves round, and there's its tail, and there's the sting. And if we add the outline of the scorpion onto the stars, there we are, there's Antares in the middle of its body, and there is the tail and the sting. So it really is one of the most magnificent constellations. And then a little bit to the east of that, we have Sagittarius, and of course the centre of our galaxy lies in the direction of Sagittarius. And the main part of Sagittarius, of course, is that pattern known popularly as the teapot.
I've never seen a teapot.
Well, I can show it to you now.
Do that.
There's the left side of the teapot, and there's the handle. There's the lid, which is sort of a triangle of stars on the top. There's the spout, and there's the front of the teapot.
I'll take your word for it. Let's go further south still, and the far southern stars really are magnificent. And I'll never forget my first view of the Southern Cross. So let's go now to Cape Town and have a look at it.
Here we are at the southern tip of Africa. Here we've got the Southern Cross, the 4 main stars, and the 5th one there that slightly destroys the shape, but it's much more like a kite than it is a cross because there's no central star. So there's the Southern Cross. And then quite close to it, of course, almost pointing towards it, are the southern pointers, as they're called, Alpha and Beta Centauri. Alpha Centauri, a very brilliant star. And, of course, the next nearest star to us after the Sun.
And Beta Centauri right in the background. They're not really related at all.
No.
Come back now to southern England. And at the moment, not a very good time for planets. So let's go forward in time to the 15th of December this year, 10 days before Christmas, at midnight, because then the 2 giant planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are beautifully placed.
And of course that's the wonderful thing about the planetarium. We can just decide where we're going to go and anywhere in time and space. So here we are on December the 15th. Saturn will be at opposition in 2 days' time on December the 17th, and Jupiter will be at opposition next month. And at the moment, both planets are moving retrograde, which is opposite to their normal direct motion. Saturn is in Taurus, and Jupiter has just moved from Cancer into Leo, but its retrograde motion will take it back into Cancer once more. Now, if we now run the clock forward and we move through December and into January, we can see what happens. Saturn continues to move retrograde and then reaches a stationary point after opposition and then starts to move direct once more, whereas Jupiter continues to move retrograde for longer than Saturn before stopping and moving direct once more. And those periodic reverses in motion, of course, perplexed astronomers for a very long time.
It did upset the Ptolemaic system completely. And of course in the real sky you have to watch for night after night. That's where the planetarium is so valuable, show what actually happens.
You can speed everything up to make it really visible.
While we are down here in the winter sky, Let's have a look at that most magnificent constellation, Orion the Hunter.
Yes, it's beautifully on view here. There's the 7 main stars of the constellation. There's Betelgeuse and Bellatrix at the top, and then we have Rigel and Saiph at the bottom, and then the 3 stars making Orion's belt. And we can also see Orion's sword there, hanging downwards with the Orion Nebula glowing faintly. If we now add the outline of Orion to the stars, we can see him quite magnificently. There's his arm outstretched holding a club. There's the other arm with the skin of some poor animal he's killed hanging over. And there are his feet, legs, and there's his belt. And he really does look quite superb, Orion the Hunter. And then if we use Orion as a signpost, we can take the stars of the belt and follow them upwards, and we come to the reddish star Aldebaran in Taurus the Bull, and there's the V of the cluster, the Hyades. Aldebaran, of course, isn't a member of the Hyades. It's a bit closer, isn't it, than the Hyades?
Halfway, yes.
Yes. And then not far above and to the right of that, we've got the lovely cluster, the Pleiades or 7 Sisters, which are a very nice sight, even here in the planetarium sky. Quite easy with the naked eye on a good night. So that's the belt one way. Now, if we now run the belt down the other way, we come to Sirius. Now, here we have a bit of a problem, because Sirius is supposed to be the brightest star in the sky,
yes,
but it isn't the brightest star in our planetarium
It will
sky.
be in the future.
It will be in the future, but at the moment, we unfortunately can't get an appropriate bulb to make Sirius bright enough. So Sirius, unfortunately, glows rather dimly in our sky. But nonetheless, you do still find it from the stars of the belt the other way. And then, of course, if you follow up and to the left of Orion, you come to Castor and Pollux, the twins of Gemini, which you can see there, the 2 twins lying side by side. So Orion and his retinue, well shown here on the planetarium sky.
Almost overhead, we have Capella.
Yes, we do, of course. That is in winter evenings, where Vega is on summer evenings.
Well, we're back in summer in South England again. So one thing we can always see is the Great Bear together with the pole star. So, John, let's find the pole star.
Right, well, of course, the plough is more like a saucepan with a bent handle, I always think.
Yes.
And Migres, of course, is much fainter than the other 6 stars in the plough. And these 2 stars, Merak and Dupe, those are the so-called pointers. And if you follow the line upwards, then they come to Polaris, the pole star. And, of course, Polaris is at the end of the tail of the little bear, Ursa Minor. And if we add on the shape of the little bear, you can see him there. The body of the little bear is just a box of 4 stars, so you need a fairly good bit of artistic license to make out the shape of a bear from that. And it has this sort of slightly stretched tail with Polaris at the end. And, of course, we're very lucky to have a moderately bright star near to the North Pole of the sky. Now, that arrow is showing where the North Celestial Pole really is. And you can see that Polaris is less than a degree away from the position of the North Celestial Pole. But it won't always be that way, of course.
No, it won't. The reason being, the Earth's axis tilts very slightly, and therefore the pole describes a long, slow circle in the sky. And that alters the pole stars.
Yes, it does. Over a cycle of 26,000 years, the position of the North Celestial Pole, indicated by the white arrow, slowly moves against the background stars. Now, we can show that in the planetarium. If we go back in time, some 5,000 years to the year 3000 BC, when the pyramids were being built, you can see that the North Celestial Pole is moving well away from Polaris and towards the constellation of Draco the Dragon. And back in 3000 BC, their pole star was the rather fainter star Thuban in Draco, and not Polaris at all.
At the present moment, the pole is near Polaris. It'll get a bit closer, and then start to move away again.
And if we now move into the future, we can see what's going to happen. And the North Celestial Pole is heading towards Cepheus, and in 6000 AD, it'll be close to the star Alderamin in Cepheus. And then if we continue moving on into the future, it then moves round towards the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. And in 10,000 AD, It'll be quite close to the bright star Deneb in the tail of the Swan. And if we move further still to 15,000 AD, that's 13,000 years from now, it'll pass only 6 degrees from the bright star Vega in Lyra the Lyre.
Well, to see that in the real sky, you've got to wait for 13,000 years. Here in our planetarium, we can do it in just a few seconds. John, it's been a superb tour of the sky. You're a wonderful guide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I first went to a planetarium many years ago, actually in South Africa, and I was taken aback. It was so much better and more realistic than I expected. Well, I wonder what our visitors today are going to think about it.
How many people have actually been to the moon?
12 astronauts have set foot on the moon, a very, very special group of people.
Will there be any humans who will be able to visit the gas planets like Jupiter and Neptune?
You can't land on Jupiter, but I'm sure humans will one day go to the moons of the gas giants, but they'll never land on them.
Do you think there'll be any holidays to the moon, ever?
If you go back 25 years, not many people would think of going to Thailand for their holiday. Now you can pick up any paper and you can get a package holiday to Thailand easily. And it's the same with going to space. And I'm sure you will be able to, spend a weekend on the moon, possibly during your lifetime.
I've heard there's 2 more planets. One's called Planet X and one's just like Earth.
Now, first of all, in our own solar system, it used to be thought that possibly there was a 10th planet, Planet X. But now most people are not so sure. Beyond our solar system, when we look at the other stars, we find many, many sun-like stars that have got planets going round them. But we haven't yet found any planets like the Earth.
Well, David, you've seen the show. What do you think?
Really brilliant.
Was it what you expected?
No, not really, because I never knew there was going to be like stars in this big dome.
What do you like most about it?
Seeing the planet Saturn.
There we are.
What do you like most about it, Lorna?
Jupiter.
Jupiter? Why do you like Jupiter particularly?
I don't know.
You liked it?
Yeah.
What about the stars themselves? What about you? What's your name?
Bullet.
Sorry, what about you? What do you enjoy most, do you think?
Mostly Mars and Pluto.
Mars and Pluto?
Because Pluto had water in it and it was freezing.
Well,
and it's furthest away.
What about Mars? Any life there, do you think?
No.
I wonder.
I thought there was going to be like a big telescope looking out into the sky.
So, in fact, it's showing you more than a telescope would, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
It was, was it better than you expected?
Yeah.
I'm glad about that. And if you really learnt something of it and you've enjoyed it too. What do you enjoy most?
I quite like seeing all the planets.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, I think we'd agree our planetarium is a success. And we've done it all on our own. It'll introduce many people to the wonders of the night sky. It'll still be going many years from now. Don't forget our website, www.bbc.co.uk/space, and our CFAX, page 620. When I come back next month, I'll be going to Jodrell Bank to talk about the great radio telescope there. Until then, good night.